Ready?
Kevin Davis. I'm 23 years old and I go to University of Connecticut. Sexual orientation is just kind of like your it's like such an easy, complex thing to say. So I guess like sexual orientation would just kind of be like your predisposition to be sexually attracted to certain things, I guess, in the context that you're talking about. It would be gender or lack thereof in a lot of cases, or certain characteristics, more masculine and more feminine characteristics, I guess, would be probably things that people are more attracted to sexually. But you can also be like emotionally more attracted to those traits. So it's like it's hard to unpack that sometimes, but I guess sexual orientation would be more focused on like your just like your inherent attractions that you feel and to who you're feeling them.
Why do you think people are homophobic?
There's not like one generalization that is for everybody, although I suppose one of the more like pervasive ones is that these people are like perverted in some way, or there's like some sort of perversion or some sort of mental illness. Those are like very old school, but some people still have those kind of misconceptions. I guess specifically bi people, there's this myth that they sleep around, or that they're always trying to get out there, and that they're never satisfied. And so I think that's probably like the number one biggest misconception that we see, or like another really big misconception for bi people are that they need to choose one, that they will choose one, or that it's a phase. That's a very big misconception that people deal with, or like in the community itself, there's like oppression between other groups where they'll be like, you're not queer enough, or bi today, gay tomorrow, that thing.
Do you think gay marriage affects straight people in any way? How or how not?
That's such a funny question. No. I also wouldn't even call it gay marriage. I would call it same-sex marriage, or just marriage. I guess like the whole like the way that it's categorized now in media, being called gay marriage is inaccurate, because being same-sex and getting married, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily gay. And that's a lot of assumptions about their sex to begin with. So, it's pretty, it's a very cisgender normative way to look at it, by looking at kind of like, they look like they're this particular gender, so they must be, and therefore it's the same sex. It's very, there's a lot of things that go into that, but short answer, no. I don't see that anybody's marriage affecting anybody else's, in the same way that an interracial marriage doesn't affect a single racial marriage. It's not there's nothing I really see that bothering anybody about, unless it's your personal prejudices. You just feel uncomfortable by it, and like, okay, well, that's your problem, you gotta work through that. But ultimately, any effect on other people, no. No, I don't think that that's true. I forget the exact number, but there's something like more than like 22 transgender people have died this year alone so far. Just a lot of people. There are still people rallying against, LGBTQ peoples in certain places, parts of our country. This whole uproar over marriage, and I can't even say that the people that are supporting it are necessarily not problematic of themselves, because some of them are like for this idea of tolerating but not really accepting, and so I don't think that, I feel like that's a whole level of hate in and of itself. It's a microaggression at best to be like okay with it but from afar. So those are the kind of people who would be like, this again isn't everybody, but there are definitely people who would say that they're for it until it was like close to home, or someone moved in next to them, or they found out their child was. So I don't think I don't think I can agree that we're in like a post-hate era. I mean, God, just look around at things that are going on like racially right now in our country. You can't say it's post-hate at all. You kind of have this big reveal of all these systemically oppressive things going on, or like just systems that are being uncovered, or not even uncovered because they're known, but just being brought to light to the general public now. And so yeah, I can't agree with that for various different reasons. But if there's any kind of hate out there, any kind of like oppression, I can't say that we're in post-hate at all.
Is there anything you'd like to add, or any other comments you want to make?
Yeah, it's not where like the battle begins and ends. I think a lot of people think that this like solves the problem of LGBTQ peoples, but it doesn't. This isn't even a big. I mean, it's big symbolically, but for who in the LGBT community? So all that same-sex marriage really benefits is people who are white and people who are gay. And cisgendered. This isn't a victory for trans people. This isn't a victory for bi people, for people who are asexual or aromantic or questioning or intersex. This isn't a victory for people who are polyamorous. This isn't a victory for people who don't feel that they should be forced to fit into these the heteronormative framework that's laid out to them of marriage and someone who gets to play, the masculine or the feminine role. This isn't where things end. And this isn't where our problems are solved. This is just like one small battle. It just is it's a very symbolic battle that we have to fight, because laws can't change the culture, and they can't change the atmosphere, and they can't change society. But what they do is they set these like expectations up, so they change over time. And the law should treat everyone equally, and so that's why this is important. But ultimately, if you look at the community, there's so many more things that need to be addressed. This isn't one of the important ones for the majority of the community. It just is one of many, and it's just a narrative that gets talked about more because it fits into this heterosexual framework that people are used to seeing and used to being exposed to. It's the controlling image of marriage in that institution, and so this is just a game of respectability politics. The oppressed group has to prove that they can fit in and coincide with the majority, but in reality we can be separate. We don't necessarily have to fit into that, and some people don't want to, and some people do. So I just don't think that it gets championed in such a way that people think it's like this big seismic event for people in the community, but it's not. It opens up a whole other slew of problems. Like now you have to identify yourself. It's on paper. It's in records. It opens you up to more discrimination, while at the same time opening you up to be, have some legal guarantees that other couples would have. But I think that there's more emphasis from straight folk on this marriage issue than there is for people in the LGBTQ community.